Hello, everybody, and welcome to this very special episode of the Messages of Hope podcast. I'm trying something that I've never done before. I'm bringing in a slew of guests, all of whom are contributors to our new book, Mediumship. It's part of the Common Sentience series of books on spirituality. Each of these books has a single word for the title, and as you can see, this one is all about a topic that's near and dear to my heart and hopefully yours, mediumship, sacred communications with loved ones from across the veil. What's so cool about this series is it follows a format where the first part is all about the topic. So I have expounded in there about what mediumship is all about, who can do it, which is all of us, and how it expands into what is also known as after-death communications. So this book is not just for people who want to be mediums, it's for all of us who want to have conscious connection with our loved ones who have passed. And that's what this show is about today, because part 2 of the book is a collection of stories from all of us normal people who have had connections with our loved ones in magical and wondrous ways, after-death communications, and actual mediumship readings. There are 30 stories, but we won't have 30 guests today. Just some highlights, really cool ones. 30 stories by contributors that make this such a great book to pick up and put down when you want to just be reminded that love never dies, that your loved ones are still here. As I was reading the contributors' stories for the first time, I kept saying, oh my God, Ty, that's my husband. You got to hear this one. Listen to this one. It's that kind of book. And then part 3, I wrote that part. It's the how-tos. So I wrote the first part, the last part, and contributed 2 of the stories. Then we have 30 other awesome, no other explanation stories in the middle. So today I have 12 guests, I believe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 guests who have all contributed their stories, and they're going to just tell us a little short bit about their lives, their stories, their after-death communications, a different question for everyone, and they're fascinating. So buckle your seatbelt. I hope you just really love what we're going to be sharing with you today. I'm going to scroll down here and see, if I can find my first guests. Here we go. I would like you to meet Mary Jane Clucky. Hi, Mary Jane.
Hi, Suzanne. Nice to see you.
Good to see you, and I'm just so pleased that you're our first person on screen. Your question is, you share how your mother fixed your bedroom chandelier from across the veil after you clearly asked her for that help. That is a concrete, no other explanation moment. Mm-hmm. And I'd like to know if you have had any other such concrete NOE help from your mother since then.
Yes, I have. That incident happened in 2007, about a week after my mother passed. And it was you'll read it in the book, those of you who get the book. But there was, life goes on. And I was in 2007, I stayed in New York for another couple of years. And then I moved to DC and got married. And I think my mom might have had something to do with meeting my husband too. Of course. Because I had been single a long time until I met him. But another concrete one that I'm actually going to show you a concrete evidence is this. I was in DC working downtown, and it was the end of the day, and I took the metro, the subway, back and forth. And it was a period of time when among my siblings, there's 6 of us, there was some tension, and I was hearing about it on the phone here and there from various ones. And I knew this is something that my mother would and could help with. So as I'm walking along up to the subway, I said, gosh, Mom, you got to get in here. And it was kind of that same quality of question like I did with fixing my chandelier. Yeah, Mom, if you want to communicate with me, fix my chandelier. So that's what it was, as if she were right with me.
And I love that. And that's what we want everybody to understand, that this is, your loved ones are right here and you engage with them real time. Just talk with them like you did. Perfect.
And I know, and that is when my mother and my dad have come in really clearly. So in this particular instance, I'm walking to the subway, and I knew I had to get some cash out of the ATM. My mind, I had the concern about my family and what's going on, and I had made the request to my mother just to let me know that she was in on it. So I put my card in for some cash, and the first bill that came out, I think I asked for 100, and it was all in 20s, was this one. I don't know if you can see it. There it is. God is awesome.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
I got the goosebumps.
Me too. And I still have it. This was in like 10 years ago in 2014. So I still have it because sharing it. I should. Absolutely, because what's it doing in my wallet except sitting there? I don't spend it. But I mean, it was just what I needed, a reminder. And actually, my mother's life was a lot like that. She raised all of us 7 children to have a deep faith in the knowing that God is with us. We have protection. We have safety. So it was so perfect. Now, I don't think we would use that word awesome, but it was a word of the day. So
that is awesome. And what mediumship shows us is that we are all expressions of one God, one mind, one field of consciousness. So what a great story to kick off this
thank you.
This whole episode with. Thank you so much for sharing with us.
It has been my pleasure. Thank you.
I love that. And thanks for contributing to the book.
My pleasure and privilege. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Bye-bye. Well, wasn't that fun? Okay, that's just one, and several more to go. Wait, 11 more to go. Each one its own little touch of magic. So we're going to go down here, and I am looking for next Barbara Lodge. Come on in. I was just saying, come on down. What was that game show? I can't remember.
Come on down.
Yeah. Well, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
You've contributed a beautiful story to the book Mediumship. I want to know, what was the moment you knew and understood that your father's loving energy from across the veil had never left you?
Well, thank you. When my father's heart stopped, he was in the hospital, and I was holding his legs. And when that happened, I felt the tingling whoosh of his energy flow out of his body and in through me. It was like an electrified, shimmering sort of. So when that happened, and then he had passed, his body was there, the hospital was happening. And from that point on, my life had become completely an ecstatic, mystical experience, if you will. My senses were heightened. Colors were neon. The outlines were so sharp. I could feel connected with my dad in nature in so many ways. Like, aspen leaves, if you see them, like,
they shimmer
in the wind. It was like, hi, Daddy, and he's like waving to me, I love you. If I felt wind on my face, I knew beyond knowing that's him reminding me he's there. I just felt so interconnected with him that I believed that he would never leave. I mean, one of my experiences, and I never have done drugs, is that I was looking at a green leaf and there was sunlight on it. And I saw the shimmering, like, rivers of particles flowing. Everything was alive. I'm just trying to, words fall short of this, but it was quite something. And this went on for months and months. And so my life was being lived hand in hand with my dad at that time in nature.
Wow.
And then, though, my experiences started waning and they started decreasing. And pretty soon there was no more dad. And I started panicking and I was so anxious. I was grasping everything. The harder I looked, the harder it became to find him. And ultimately, he was gone. I was trying automatic writing, which had worked before, and it wasn't working anymore. I was so tight in my head and my body, so hopeless. That was a death. I feel like I mourned the heartbreak of that permanent death so much more than when he left his body. I missed him every single day, and I was lost without my dad. And I had to carry on. I had 2 kids. I grew up, they grew up, and life was going on. And I had a 97-year-old mother who needed care. So I was taking care of my mother. And one night she asked me to stay over. So I did. And we slept in the bed that she had shared with my dad. I was on the side of the bed that he slept on. That was kind of weird for me. I was very anxious, holding my body so tight. Finally, I fell asleep, and he came to me in a dream, and it had been a decade, at least a decade. And there he was in this dream, and he held out his hand. We had a history of holding hands. So he held out his hand. He took my hand, and this is the thing. We went up and up and up and up, like into the sky, into the stars, into this atmosphere where I could feel it on my skin. It was soft and velvety and encompassing. And I remember thinking to myself, well, heck, I think this place is made of love, because it was so beautiful, beautiful, such a silly word. It was so everything. It was light and dark and empty and full and rich. And there we were, and I could breathe it into, excuse me, I could breathe it into my lungs. And there was my dad, and this interconnectedness with everything vast that you
And it was all back again.
It was back. Yeah, it was back again. And then in a moment, my body dissolved and his body dissolved, and we dissolved into this nothing and everything.
And I bet that has never left you.
Exactly. I woke up, and it's with me to this day.
Beautiful.
It's really,
I love that. I love that you had it initially. And this is the thing, we come here to remember that. And if we had that all the time, this journey would not be as glorious as it is when we have those moments of remembering. So thank you so much for sharing that with all of us. It's absolutely beautiful.
Thanks so much.
All right. Thank you, Barbara.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Oh gosh, we love these stories, and now we get 12 of them today. Again, if you're just joining us, these are all contributors to our new book, as you see the names across the bottom, and there are even more inside, contributors to the book Mediumship, what it's about, how you can do it too, but also stories to encourage you. So let me see. I am now looking for, here she is, Celia Chantal. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Suzanne.
Hi, Celia.
Hearing all these stories.
What was that?
It's so fun hearing all those stories from everyone.
Isn't it wonderful? Oh my gosh, this is my passion, right? And hopefully everybody who watches the show, Messages of Hope is exactly what we're getting today. We'd love if you would share your favorite part of your story in the book Mediumship.
Okay. My favorite part is the actual mediumship experience of my dear friend and sister of my boyfriend at the time, Michelle. She had unexpectedly and tragically died, and I at the time had no beliefs or expectations of ever seeing her again. And so I had gone to see her body in the funeral home, and of course her energy and soul were not there. And I went outside, and I was deeply grieving, of course, and her family was waiting for me. And suddenly I felt like all the grief and darkness fell away, and she opened up the veil between our worlds, and I was where she was. Wow. And I felt her and heard her laugh, and she said, "You have to let them know I'm still alive." Yeah. And everything was light. I was light. She was light. Everything was made of light. The air was light. Everything was surrounded by these beautiful spheres of light, and such unconditional love I'd never felt before, or sense of belonging and oneness and connectedness. And it was magnificent, and I was feeling ecstatic. And I went across the street and I told her family what was happening. And the feeling eventually did go away a little bit, but yeah, it's always been with me.
That is beautiful. And that's why we have this word in the subtitle, sacred communications with loved ones across the veil. What you described is sacred, which the definition of sacred is tinged with awe and a sense of reverence. And you can tell, I get the goosebumps just in the energy of you telling that was an experience that will never go away, and that convinced you. She's right here.
Yeah. And she did continue to visit me through that year and brought amazing evidence. And so that was like a huge wake up call that we are not just these bodies, we are souls that continue and love continues. And it was amazing.
Beautiful. And I know that everybody listening would just love to have an experience like this. And these kind of experiences, that was spontaneous. That's grace, right? And they happen so that we can share those stories with others and be messengers. So thank you for coming on and doing that for all of us.
Yeah, thank you.
All righty. Thank you and take care. All right, I'm going to go now in the order in which I can see everybody backstage. They don't know what order that is, so I'll probably surprise them here. Our next guest, a contributor to the Mediumship book, is Irina Melnick. Hi, and welcome to the show.
So happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me, Suzanne.
Well, thank you for contributing to the book. I know we had over 200 people submit stories, and the editors had a very challenging job narrowing it down because all of these NOEs, no other explanation moments, are just fabulous. But Irina, what was your most unusual experience after your grandmother Maria died?
Yeah, I have to say, even though I'm a medical doctor and I have witnessed death, it was typically in a hospital setting with code blue resuscitation efforts and necessary medical protocols. This time it was my first experience witnessing the death of my own grandmother Maria at home, holding her hand as she peacefully transitioned at the age 86. There were a few unusual things that surrounded her death. First, she had accurately predicted the day and exact timing of her passing.
I remember this story, yeah.
She said, "I will die tomorrow morning on Thursday at 11 a.m." So, yeah, that was quite astonishing. She also seemed to pause and delayed her dying process, which was, of course, quite unusual for me as a doctor and biologist, right? So, to witness. And she really delayed her process of dying until I arrived at her bedside, which was more than 20 minutes after the 11 a.m., which is exactly when she really started her dying process with the agonal breathing, so etc. But then she stopped and paused. And as soon as I arrived and took her hand, her breathing became erratic again, the agonal, breathing of a dying person, of course. And she passed away shortly afterwards. During and after her death, I experienced the most inappropriate, as I thought, almost shameful feeling of incredible, overwhelming joy, love, and euphoria.
I knew you were going to say joy because I've been there too, Irina. So I love your confirming this. Inappropriate, yes, but no.
Right? Yeah. So I feel, that euphoria filled my entire body. I felt this unusual sense of ecstasy, while others in the room were like stricken with grief. So, and of course, the most extraordinary event that I want to share with you happened the very next day at a conference that I had to attend, where a stranger approached me and delivered a message from my grandmother.
No.
The lady's, yes, believe it or not. So the lady's name was Pamela. And I had never met her before. After introducing herself, she just asked, "Did you lose someone in your life recently?"
Oh, wow.
I was stunned, as you can imagine. I said, "Yes, as a matter of fact, I did just yesterday." And Pamela continued, "Her name started with an M, something like Maria?" I said, "Yes, Maria. She was my grandmother." "She has a message for you," Pamela said. I was in shock and in disbelief. A message? Yes, Pamela said, "She wants you to know that she has arrived and she's surrounded by loved ones. She also wanted you to know that she was waiting for you yesterday." And of course, I knew what she meant. Maria had literally delayed her death until I came to her bedside. And then
Oh, everybody, are you loving this? These are MOEs. No other explanation story than what? We don't die, right? We go to a different frequency. That is awesome.
And I asked Pamela, but why? Because I definitely knew, and it was puzzling me. And Pamela replied, Maria just said that she was waiting for me because she wanted you to know that there is no death. And that was her message to me.
And you had that beautiful, exuberant experience of her spirit being free of the body with no disrespect to humans. I had that same experience when my dog Gretchen passed. The moment of her passing, everybody around me was sobbing. I thought I was going to be in deep grief. You described my experience. So this is so affirming. Spirit is spirit, love is love, joy is joy. And that's what the spirit experiences when we are free of these filters. That's the brain. And what a blessing that you, a physician, are able to come on here and say, look, personal experience shows that this is true. Thank you so much.
Oh, of course, you're welcome.
Beautifully shared and beautifully told in the book as well. Thank you so much, Irina. All right, everybody, what we're doing is sharing some of the stories from the book Mediumship, which is available now at all booksellers online, and you can probably order it in your local bookstore as well. What did I just want to tell you? And it just went out of my mind, just like that. Oh, that we have all women today sharing with us, but there is one man's story in the book. He's just not coming online with us today. And that's just a function of the fact that as a stereotype, women are more sensitive and open to these beautiful stories we're sharing. But guys, you can have these experiences too. And part 3 shows you how to tap into that side of all of us and experience our wholeness with both our feminine and masculine energies. So let's move on now to our next guest, Maria. Suzanne, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for this very kind invitation.
Oh, well, thank you for contributing to the book. I have questions here. I don't generally like to read questions, but there's 12 of you. I want to make sure I get just the right things to ask you. So, Maria, what impact has your ongoing relationship with your great-grandmother had on your life?
Tremendous. In the story that I tell in your book, she gave me an NOE that absolutely proved I was connecting with her. Later, about 2017, I was diagnosed with advanced metastatic breast cancer. I was led to the most incredible doctors and nurses, and we proceeded to set up dates for chemo and so forth. As we got close to the date for that first dose, the human side of me and my brain freaked out a little bit.
I guess.
And who should show up at the foot of my bed but Mamita? And she is so joyful. And she did something that she didn't normally do. We usually communicated energetically. But this time she spoke. And she said to me, "You do good. You do good." And she was so happy and vibrant. And then she smiled and left.
Wow.
And I was a little stunned. And the next thing I know, I believe that I connected with her, that we were one. And everything expanded. And I felt the joy that she was feeling. Not only that, but wherever I was, there were so many possibilities. And she was reminding me, with God, everything is possible. You can do this. And she was also, I believe, telling me that I needed to embrace this. I had been hearing inwardly that I would be okay, but I have to admit that the diagnosis intimidated me.
You sure?
And I made the decision. It was really major impact that I was going to live that way. This was not a cancer journey. This was a journey of my soul.
Wow.
And I really embraced it. I am beyond grateful to tell you that even with the first dose, my body responded beautifully. And here, 7.5 years later, I'm still doing very, very well. Mamita has been with me through the whole time. And she continues to teach me, to heal me, to love me. And I am so grateful.
Oh, we're all grateful for you. And I love that story. I love how you felt her personally. And I thank you for sharing her story with the book and with all of us here today. It's beautiful.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. What a beautiful soul and beautiful story. Thank you, Maria. Okay. Wow. I may have just said Maria. It is Marie. We want to make sure we get that straight. This is wonderful, huh, everybody? I just could listen to these all day. So this show is going to go longer than my normal podcast, but it's the kind that if you have to leave, you can just come back because it's going to be available forever. That's the beauty of these podcasts. So let's see. Next, we're going to bring on Bonnie Earl. Welcome to the show.
Hi. So happy to be here.
Oh, is this fun or what? I know y'all are waiting, but while we wait, we get to listen, right?
And such beautiful stories.
They are. So your question is, how were you guided to contribute your story to the book Mediumship, which is what everybody here today has in common? They're all contributors to this new book that's available now. How were you guided?
Yeah, so it's the spirit works in beautiful, magical ways. And the guidance began actually 10 years ago. 10 years ago, I was guided to attend a live event where you, Suzanne, were the guest speaker. And at that point, I didn't know anything about you. I didn't know why I was even supposed to be there. I just trusted.
Oh, I love that.
And I was blown away as you recounted story after story where there was no other explanation, proof, evidence beyond a shadow of a doubt. And I came away knowing that you're the real deal and that I wanted that. I wanted that kind of evidence or proof.
Sure.
And so then 2 years ago, you have many podcasts, but I was guided to one podcast in which you said, ask your loved ones across the veil for signs. And I took that advice to heart. On what would have been my dad's 85th birthday, I asked Dad, please give me a sign. And within 40 minutes, my dad delivered a tangible, literal sign.
Way to go, Dad. Yeah. And it's in the book, right?
It is. And there was this feeling of euphoria. And I wanted to share that story with everyone, that I had this no other explanation story. And then when I received the newsletter a year ago that you were requesting submissions of stories, it was, my heart began to pound, and it was, I'm supposed to share my dad's story in this book. And of course, the inner critic kicked up a fuss. Who do you think you are? You're not a real author. It had a whole bunch of negativity.
Don't listen to that voice, anybody.
Exactly. And that was the other thing that I had learned from you, was sitting in peace. And I went to that place, and the guidance was, write and submit your story without attachment. If it's to be included, it will be. And the rest is history. And I just feel so grateful for the guidance that brought me to you 10 years ago, and that for all of the stories that are going to bring so much healing and hope, that this is possible for everybody. We all have this ability to converse with our loved ones across the veil.
Well, Bonnie, I have to tell you, you get an A+ as a student, not of mine, but of spirit. Absolutely. I'm so grateful that our paths crossed and that you paid attention. You mentioned sitting in peace. That's a 3-step process. 3-minute process that I
Yes.
teach in my book, The Awakened Way, and in all of my classes. Anybody watching now, you can go on YouTube and look up the video, No More Meditation Excuses, to get that practice, the sip of the divine. I love, Bonnie, how you're the perfect example of using it to get guidance, and you got the guidance, and look how it turned out.
Yes.
And when I say to everybody, don't listen to that voice, actually do listen to that voice, just don't heed it. So
yes, exactly. Exactly. So I'm so grateful, Suzanne, for you and all the work that you do in the world.
Well, thank you, Bonnie. And I'm grateful that now you're part of this community that's helping others know that we all can have these sacred communications with loved ones across the veil. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All righty. Well, next up is Susan Lynch. Hi, Susan. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Suzanne.
Hey, okay. Well, let's see now. You're one of our contributors to the Mediumship book. And my question for you, your son let you know that he was okay soon after he passed. How did that communication impact you going forward?
Yeah, so it changed the trajectory of my grief by just planting that seed that maybe our relationship doesn't have to end. So Kevin passed very unexpectedly in 2015. He was 25 years old. And right away, I started talking to him as if he could hear me. And one of the things I kept saying to him was, Kev, you need to let me know you're okay. And of course, I had zero idea of how he was going to do that. I just wanted him to answer me.
Sure.
And so the day after his funeral, I had this overwhelming sense of, what do I do now? Like, and I said to my husband, I was just so stressed, and my normal go-to for stress is to get out in nature.
Good.
And so I said to my husband, let's just take the dogs for a walk in the woods. And so I said, but when we go for this walk, I said, I want to take Kevin's essence with us. I want to be friendly. I want to talk to people on the trail, because that's what he would have done. And so
if I could interrupt a second, also that energy is what helps make the connection possible. It opens your energy field to receiving. So good for being aware.
Yes, because that absolutely made all the difference by doing that. So Kevin loved to be the center of attention. He was hilarious. He was a big dog fan. And on that walk, he let us know that he was okay by tying in all of his best personality traits. And he also let us know that he still had a sense of humor.
I remember this story.
Yep.
You're not going to give it away today, right?
No.
Okay. That's a teaser, everybody. This story is one of those where I just went, oh my God. I said, Ty, read this one now. These are all good stories, but the story. Yeah.
I was so glad my husband was with me, because I was like, it was just the most extraordinary experience I had ever had. And so after that connection with Kevin, I wanted to, foster that ease of connection with him. And I eventually got to the place where I found meditation. And meditation is absolutely the thing that gets me to him when I need to.
Yeah.
And that has brought me so much peace. And
good.
So that's.
Oh, so glad you said that. And everybody listening, if you go to SuzanneGiesemann.com, let me see. Where's a good Ben? Let's try this one. Well, there's the website, SuzanneGiesemann.com, but do /gifts, and you will find a bunch of meditations that will help you get to that place that Susan's talking about, for sure. Yeah. Susan, I love that you're sharing this story, and everybody's sharing their stories today. That word story is so important. Hearing other people's stories opens us to our own experiences. It's scientifically proven. So by everybody coming on today and sharing their stories, hopefully all of you listening will say, okay, I want an NOE experience, a no other explanation experience of my own. And yours is going to be different. They're going to be unique. But these stories that we're sharing today are sharing what's possible, showing what's possible for all of us. So thank you, Susan, for coming on.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're so welcome. Isn't this great, everybody? More stories to come, all from contributors to the book Mediumship. So next up, let me see. Here we go. I see on my screen next up, Kelly Capers.
Hi, Suzanne. I'm fantastic. How are you doing?
Doing great. All right, let me find your question here. Here we go. So Kelly, in your story, The Party Crashers, you believed in the spirit world's existence enough to ask your loved ones for a specific sign. But after receiving that exact sign, you still questioned it. I know how that goes. You then asked them for an even signier sign, and they certainly delivered. Now, we're not going to give away the story, but what about this experience transformed you from believing to knowing?
Oh my gosh. I laugh when I think about that because it's almost 5 years ago now and I've changed so much since then. But the way that the sign came, as well as the way it felt, really just transformed everything. I had asked my grandfather, my grandmother, my great aunt, those are my people, for a very specific sign at a time when I really needed it. And they brought me a sign almost right away. And what I typically did when I got a sign back then was be like, launch my investigation. Okay, there has to be a rational explanation for this. And I try to debunk my own signs.
Do I detect a little left brain person here?
Exactly. I am so left brain just by my nature, as well as by my profession. I'm a former attorney, evidence, facts. I was also a biologist, so same as your previous guest, very left brained.
So if I could just interject a second here. Yeah. This is also one of the reasons why we have more women contributors than men, because typically men are more leaning towards the left hemisphere activities, which you've just described there. But guys, this doesn't mean you can't activate the right brain. Find a little more balance and experience your NOE yourself. So go ahead, Kelly.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Because spirit communication is so subtle and I was so not used to the way that the signs could come. So I asked for a very specific sign, gave it to me, and I said, if this is really a sign, could you please give me another sign? So they absolutely brought the sign in a way that I didn't have to investigate. There was actually no way to even investigate it. It was so creative and unique.
And you know that in the book, right? In the mediumship book? Okay, because I have to go back and remember it myself. I got it.
Yeah, it was crazy. And then the feeling that came in that moment was, I just felt like I was held in a bubble, is the best way I can describe it. I felt like I was just in the presence of the divine, and I was in absolute awe because I was in it, but also observing it, sort of like out of my body a little bit.
Love it.
I felt so much love, more love than I've ever felt in my life come through. And I could actually feel my grandfather, grandmother, and aunt there. We were just sitting in the room like we did so many times during life. And I could feel just the slightest bit of humor there that they would have had in life. They would have had a little bit of sassy, like, okay, Kelly, was that a sign enough for you? Was that good enough? Of course, we're here. The moment, just feeling them there, it just blew the door open of my own spiritual journey, my own mediumship development journey. I was in your classes at the time. I was doing the hemisync recordings, learning to meditate, sitting in the power, and all of that stuff. This taught me so much, not only that they're there, but that just they're there for me. I can trust what I'm experiencing. I can trust the spirit world. And it just propelled me so far in my journey. So
what I hear is what took you from believing to knowing was that personal experience. And that happens, yes, by grace, but also through your commitment. You're taking the classes. You have this clear intention and sitting in silence, shutting out the external world. So this is what makes the difference. We don't just hope for this. We make a commitment to spirit and we do the work, which is fun. to sit quietly and shut out the story and set our intentions, connect with our loved ones, talk to them throughout the day. So thank you for modeling so beautifully how to do that.
Oh, thank you so much, Suzanne. It's been absolutely life-changing working with you.
Oh, I love it. And thank you all of my beautiful guests today for changing lives by contributing to the book. Fantastic. Thank you. So yeah, we're talking about the mediumship book, but again, also my other book, The Awakened Way, talks about the 3 E's of getting to have these experiences. Number 1, educate yourself. And that's what everybody here today is doing, helping to educate you about what is possible. So keep watching videos like these. I already have here, I want you to, yeah, absolutely subscribe to this channel. Click the notification so you don't miss any new videos, because we're putting out educational content all the time, not just entertainment. We want you to open your mind and your heart so you too can have these experiences. The second E is experience for yourself, and look how that has changed people's lives. Everybody here has had an NOE, no other explanation moment. And third, you're seeing it in action here. Engage your loved ones personally. They're still here. They're still alive, but without a physical body. So this is not just sensing a present. Engage them when you sense. Communicate with them. Absolutely beautiful. All right. Amber, I know you've been waiting patiently. I love Amber. I've seen her at multiple classes. She's now speaking on her own, working as a medium. I saw you at the International Association of Near-Death Studies conference. So welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. I have loved listening to all of these today. I could do it all. Yes, absolutely.
I know. I mean, you know, we could actually do something like this all the time. It's really fun and really enlightening. So my question for you is, what has been the lasting transformation for you since your shared death experience with your dad that you shared in your story that's called Nature's Way Open?
Well, if I can actually start really quick with a little no other explanation moment just about this book launch date and the story.
Good.
The paragraph that I open my story with in the book, I describe a moment in which I was taking my last ever picture with my dad. It was about 10 days before he passed. And I just knew in my heart in that moment that this was our last picture and that he was soon dying. I just knew it. And I have to tell you, this is the picture.
Well, let me bring you close. There you go. Yeah. Oh, nice picture.
It's on a little cloud background, but you can see the picture.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
We took that picture, again, which opens the story, on the same day that this book is being released. So I just love that. Yeah.
Whoa. Wow. October 22nd is our official release date. That's a God wink of the first order, isn't it?
It is. And my dad passed on 11/1 on November 1st, which also is no accident as I look back now. But my shared death experience with my dad was, it really just transformed the rest of my life, in all honesty, in my absolute knowing that we continue on in growing my journey of trust in life, in myself, in the beauty that we can experience in love. And, you know, my dad and I, we were close. We had a lovely relationship, but like many people, it was also complicated. My dad was a complex human. I'm a complex human. We had some tough things, and there were things left unsaid and done. And they did have a lifelong impact on me, like many of us have. And so my after death communication with my dad, that really was a journey of a whole year where he was continuously communicating with me in various ways, was very healing, personally healing. Not only to start that journey of belief that we continue on, but it was like breadcrumbs and a treasure hunt. And every few months I was learning something new. And first it was, you're really here. And I really believe you're here. Feeling the awe again of feeling like a little girl, a child who is just woken up to this new reality.
I can feel that in you when I've met you in my classes. You could feel that joy and that childlike sense of wonder, and I want more.
Yeah, absolutely. And those personal communications then became very healing, helping me. I like to say my dad and I took a trip together to Machu Picchu. We hiked the Inca Trail in 2006. In
Wow.
spirit, he put me on the mountaintop, giving me a mountaintop perspective of just
Very nice.
life and reality and who we are as both human and spirit, leading me to you. I wasn't telling anybody about these experiences at first because I was afraid. This is so silly. I have to be making this up. But there's always that tug, right? That says, no, there's a tug. This is real. Something is going on. And
That's
my
the
mom,
soul. That's the soul getting through with that knowingness. Like, pay attention. This is real. I'm really glad you did.
yeah, absolutely. And so my mom, who didn't know about any of these experiences, sent me randomly a video about you saying, I don't know why, but for some reason, I feel you would find this interesting. And it was about your core soul to soul communication. It started the next day. And when I watched it, I said to myself, this is what's happening to me. I have to take this course. And it started tomorrow. And so I did. And that unraveled to communication with others. And I just know now that I was meant to be a medium. I've been a teacher my whole life, but my life purpose is definitely shifting. And a part of that is to help be a conduit of that same transformative awe and love and healing that I was able to experience with my dad, and now I'm able to offer to others. It's just life-changing.
It is beautiful, and I know everybody can feel that beautiful, loving energy that you radiate. And Amber, what you've really brought to mind is that, this is about one topic, mediumship, but any of the books in the Common Sentience series will open all of us to the awareness of who and what we are. That's the transformation we're seeking in ourselves and in our world. That's the point of mediumship, that it is healing, it is helpful, but it opens us up to so much more. And I'm so grateful that you talked about that soul's calling and that knowing. And it's just beautiful listening to everybody's story. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh. Isn't this great, everybody? This is so affirming to me, because I went down the path of mediumship at first and I thought that was my whole calling. But now it's so clear to me that living the awakened way is the big picture, bringing into awareness that we are not only human, that we're part of one big web connecting all that is. And as you can tell from all these beautiful stories from the book Mediumship, the healing force of the universe, the creative force of the universe is love. And I know you can feel the love from all of these beautiful guests here. It's just a joy today. So how about we go next to Maria Corneli. There you are. Come on in. Corneli. Let me get it right. Hi, Maria. How are you?
I'm great, Suzanne. Can you hear me okay?
I see you. You're a little bit blurry for some reason, but we can hear you.
I'm in a blurred background, but I might be in a blur, but I am so overfilled with joy and love and the radiance of being with you today and all these wonderful people and spirits who are here with us. It's truly phenomenal. And I'm just so grateful for your book and so excited that it's coming out. It's going to rock this world. And thank you.
It is.
Very, very.
I will tell everybody who's watching on YouTube, Mario, your connection is freezing, so you probably don't have the best internet connection, but we hear you loud and clear. So we're just going to proceed and let you just talk as if we see you clearly. How's that?
Okay.
You kind of look like somebody from the spirit world right now. Coming in a little bit blurry.
Is talking to me. Yeah, maybe.
Here we go. So your question, what led you to take the mediumship class, and what have you discovered in the class so far?
Well, I have to hit rewind for a little bit because my partner died in 2016 in very mysterious circumstances. And we didn't know where he had gone and what happened to him. And we were in Australia at the time. So that was all very mind-boggling. But at some point, waiting for the police investigations and all of the details going on there with that drama, your video came up on my YouTube.
I hear this a lot. The timing is generally divine, and it's people might say it's an algorithm, but I say spirit's got the handle on that.
Yeah. Algorithm finessed by spirit, correct?
That's it.
So, all my life, though, I have been really, really fascinated and researching what happens after we die. And I've been obsessed with near-death research, NDEs, and life after death, Raymond Moody, all those things since I was 20 years old and was studying consciousness and the holographic paradigm of consciousness. So when you started talking about frequencies and that we're all in this big, enormous, beautiful soup of frequencies that we can tune into, I was ecstatic. I was overjoyed you could speak the language of science and of spirituality and bring those two sides together.
Yeah.
And then I began getting all kinds of signs and symbols from Greg. And I realized, oh, actually, I have had a lot of these experiences, but like many of our other contributors, I couldn't trust that was really true. I thought, oh, well, I'm just making that up. So as the opportunity to contribute to this book of wonderful mediumship of yours came up, I was very galvanized to do that because I was also working on a book, and a no other explanation experience had happened to me in 2018 when a woman at a meditation class I was in came up to me when we were standing outside waiting for an activity and said, he wants to know when you're going to finish the book. And I said, who wants to know? Who's talking? And she said, the guy who died.
The guy who died. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's
the guy who died, right? So I was pretty excited by that. And then I realized I need more practice. I need more practice. I need more trust. And the experience of taking this class with the Shift Network has been the most extraordinary thing because it has shifted my whole belief system from neutral and sort of a academic approach to these things to like, oh my goodness, that spirit is really coming through to me now.
You betcha.
And I feel that your book and our contributing these stories and everyone sharing in this wonderful community is so important because our world needs this information.
Really
we
does.
need to know that we are more than human and we have this connection with these realms of different frequencies and spirit at our disposal if we can just turn off that inner critic, doubting mind and so forth. And
That's
the other thing that has spoken to me so loud and clear is the gratitude, because that to me has always been the key to everything, gratitude and forgiveness. And I think that's the theme of the book that I'm still working on is forgiveness, forgiving ourselves and forgiving others and really opening up to that trust. And it's been just so beautiful to hear everyone else's story. And thank you for all of your hard work. And I'm just so grateful that I really have nothing but thanks to say. Excitement.
You are so welcome. Thank you for sharing. And I just have to tell you that whole trust issue, clearly it's a theme for all of us. And the trust comes with hearing the stories, having your own stories, connecting yourself across the veil, and just acknowledging that little voice comes from the left hemisphere. It's built into our brains. So if you just acknowledge it and say, thank you very much, but that's not helpful, set that aside. I'm going to trust my heart. That will just keep you on the path and having these beautiful moments. So thank you so much. All right, everybody. I'm very grateful for the reminder about the Shift Network classes, I have a new live class that starts in December 2024. I have evergreen classes online. You can find them through my website, SuzanneGiesemann.com. But if you want to be part of this new class live with me for 7 weeks, be sure you sign up for my email list by going to my website. A pop-up will come up, and sign up to receive notifications, because I'm going to send out an email when the class is available for registration. This one is about how to incorporate everything we're talking about into our daily lives for these wondrous, magical moments of flow and joy, moment by moment. The teachers of the course on the Shift Network said, Suzanne, everybody loves feeling your energy and your joy. They want that. They want that flow in their lives. And so I have designed this course with my guides' help around how all of us can experience that by using the Awaken Way practices, which have come up so often in this interview today. So we have two more wonderful stories to hear. If you're joining us late, these are all contributors, see their names across the bottom, to my new book, Mediumship. So it's really our book, but these are just a few. There are 30 more of these NOE stories in the book, plus 2 of mine, plus the how-tos and the what, where, whys of mediumship. It's available now. Run, don't walk, and order this book, because it's the kind you'll want to pick up often. Keep it by your bed when you need a lift, when you need inspiration, when your soul nudges you to say, read these stories and know, then go have experiences for yourself. This is real. I love it. Annie Brunelli, my dear friend, you were just on the Mediterranean cruise with me. You contributed the gorgeous flowers. This bouquet pales in comparison to the flowers. And just to let everybody know, we're doing another cruise in the spring, the Caribbean cruise. Awaken Way teachings, 14 hours on the beautiful Caribbean Sea, going to Aruba and Curacao. And
it will be awesome.
It will be awesome. So go to my website again for all highlighted activities. It's right there, information about the Caribbean cruise. So meanwhile, Annie, I have a question for you. Let me find it. Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
May not be a surprise to you. What is the most important thing you've learned from your story, and how has it changed your life?
Well, actually, the answer to that question actually has even changed since I submitted it. But certainly, there are 2 things I have really come to know in my heart of heart, that we continue energetically after we pass away physically. I feel that in my bones. I know it now. And that is such an immense comfort to me in my life. And the other thing that I have come to know is that relationships in life with loved ones and friends that seem fractured, broken, beyond repair, can have a miraculous healing from both sides of the veil that still astounds me, actually, to this day. And
that is huge, Annie, because so many people have regrets after a loved one passes. They think things have, there were things they wish they had done or said or had a chance to heal. And you're saying we can still do that, which is absolute truth. Just expand on that for a minute, please.
It has been an amazing thing. And I look back on it now on the trajectory of the experience that I write about. And I think that my father, my guides, someone snagged me into a situation that enabled me to reconnect with my father. I think he very well might have been a part of it. We had a very contentious, difficult, painful relationship when he was alive. He was a very troubled guy, a very agitated guy with alcoholism and PTSD and all kinds of things. And we had a very difficult relationship. I had, to be honest with you, absolute contempt as well as fear of him when we were young children. Over time, I came to feel sorry for him because I could see how troubled he was. But as time went by after he passed, I felt that viscerally I was beginning to understand him, and I wanted to talk to him. I wanted to talk to him about our relationship and make peace with him. I didn't feel that there was the potential for my really loving him, to be actually honest with you, but I wanted to make peace. I wanted to work on that relationship. And I had been meditating for quite some time and trying to connect with him. And I was wondering if my parents were still around, and if I, in fact, could reach out to them and connect with them in some way. And very shortly after I had been doing that and thinking those specific thoughts, an email dropped into my mailbox from the Shift Network about your mediumship class.
Wow.
I never went to the Shift Network. I never pursued mediumship. In it dropped to my mailbox. And I saw it and I thought, I'm not really interested in becoming a medium, but this might be my way in. This might be my connection. And I watched your introduction of the class. You dazzled me, as you dazzle many. I went, wow, that snags me. I'm going to do that. And so I started to take your class and working with other baby mediums, as we call ourselves, when we're learning to practice. My dad dropped in on these new mediums over and over. They did not know me. They did not know my story. They did not know my dad. And yet, the first woman that read for me was in tears when my dad popped in. He was so heartfelt in an apology that he was making. And he immediately started talking about wanting to help my sister and I find a home. He somehow knew that we were trying to move from our city, San Francisco, to Oregon, where we live now. And he started talking about having the desire to help us find the house. And I thought, oh, that's very nice. That's lovely. That's moving.
Are you going to give away your whole story? You don't want to give it away.
I know. Okay. I won't.
No, it's in the book. It's beautiful. I want that. Okay. Do you mind if I really want people to read the story and feel the joy there?
Sure.
Absolutely. May I though really focus on what to me is the most astounding part of your story and beautiful part is that these students who, like you, may have not had any intention of being professional mediums, but learning, as I try to tell everybody, anybody can learn to open this connection. They don't come in and say, oh, your father's here and he loves you very much. We're training people to get the personality and represent accurately what they really need to say. And look at that. You received that.
Oh, it was amazing, Suzanne. I mean, I think it showed me both that we can open this channel up, but also that our loved ones and those who want to communicate with us can be powerful communicators, and they can do so through people that are not practiced. So any of us can open this channel. It's mysterious and it's magnificent, really.
No, there's no mystery at all. I hope to take the mystery out of it, and it comes back to frequencies, patterns of energy and information, consciousness, and where it's all connected, though, that's the personal side. That's the love side. And I know that you have found great healing because I know you and you're a joyful person and you share your love in the form of flowers and photos of flowers, but the healing is phenomenal, isn't it?
Yes, it's been absolutely miraculous. And I think it's really inspired me too, because my father has become a being that is incredible. I never would have thought that I would have love for him. And I have a sacred bond with him today. I am wowed and astounded by who he is. And having watched the things that he has been able to do from across the veil inspires me beyond belief. And I think, I'm going to do that. Wow. I'm going to do that when I get across. I want to do the same stuff. Sign me up.
Doing it now. You're inspiring.
Yeah,
people.
Why not?
Oh my gosh, Annie, thank you so much. Thank you. What Annie has just shared with us is I know it's touched so many of you because we don't come from perfect relationships with our families, and they can be healed even after they've passed. And that's part of what makes mediumship sacred communications across the veil. So if you have regret, if you have issues of forgiveness and all of those things that weigh heavily on us, these can be healed at any time. And that's what your soul wants you to do. So we have one more guest. I can't wait to hear what Susan Furling-Poole has to share with us. Susan, thank you for your patience.
Oh, no problem.
Wow. I would love if you would share with us a little of your story in your childhood home. How's that sound?
Okay. I have so many things running through my head. It's going to be hard for me to just. So this is actually the story that I told in the book. So I don't want to give it away, as you were saying, but my parents passed away within 24 hours of each other. My mom died July 11th, 2011. My father died the day before. And they had been together since they were 15 years old.
Oh, my
and they
goodness.
were 80 and 81 respectively when they passed. And my mom's the one who was sick with cancer, lung cancer, although she never smoked a cigarette in her life. She wants me to make that very clear. And she had decided that she was done. She didn't want to, she was ready to go. It was like she had her bags packed and was waiting for the Uber. She was at the hospital. She was tired. She was done. She was enjoying her morphine, you know, like, wow, this is good stuff, you know? And I was at the bedside with, see, I'm jumping. I'm not doing what you asked me to do.
Okay. So Susan, take a deep breath. We're going to ask Spirit to inspire you with what will help listeners the most. Just let it arise. Don't think about it.
The awakened way, as you put it, is what gets me out of bed every morning. Knowing that there's more to life than what we're exposed to. Knowing that when a loved one dies, they're not really gone. We're going to see them again. We can communicate with them again if we choose to. And even if we don't, if we can just open our eyes up to little things, we will be awed on a daily basis. After my parents passed, I went back to my childhood home before it was bought by my second cousin and renovated. And I went there specifically because I wanted to communicate. I wasn't sure if it would be with my mom. I figured it probably would be with my mother. The house had been in the family forever. It was built in 1830 by my great grandfather. And I just walked from room to room, breathing in the energy, the musty books, the smell that comes up from the cellar because it's a dirt floor, and the wobbliness of the old windows. And I sat down on a couch and I thought about my life, and I thought about riding my bike and climbing trees and playing hide and go seek and all that stuff. But nothing was happening. And I was like, then I felt the weight of like, okay, I'm fooling myself. Nothing's going to happen. My parents are gone. Basically, we're orphans now. Just like that. We have neither parent. Then I went into my parents' bedroom, and then I wandered into the room where my mom sat in one chair, my dad sat in the other, and I saw some of my mom's hair on the chair. And it completely kind of devastated me because I wasn't expecting to see something so physically tangible. Yeah. And that's when I had my experience, which I write about in the book. So I don't know if you want me to tell it or not.
Well,
I will.
I don't want you to tell it, but tell everybody how it changed things for you.
It didn't change things for me per se, because I already 100% believed that this was possible and this is really what happens. What it did was it made me brave. It made me braver in my life. I like to write. I'm a writer. I was born a writer, but I also have an inner critic who is, ta-da, here I am, and I'm going to cut you down. And it made me brave enough to be like, you know what? We all have inner critics, and I'm putting a muzzle on that sucker. You sit on the couch. You've had your time. Now it's my time. And getting my story from my mom chosen for this book, it was the first time I had ever submitted anything that I've written. And I did it on a whim, and I didn't overthink it. And the inner critic was in the other room playing video games with my husband. And I'm typing and I'm typing. I'm like, this is actually pretty good. Typing. And I sent it in. And then I basically forgot about it because I was proud of myself for being brave enough to just put it out there. So when I got the email that it was one of the ones selected, to me, it was just like, all right, you big jerk. Do you know now? You actually can write. and you can do this. I have one of those lives like most of us do, who have lived beyond the age of 20 years old. I've had a lot of different incarnations in this body in my life. I'm recovering alcoholic, almost 17 years sober. I grew up in generational silence, and silence is so insidious, and I didn't have a voice. So many things happened to me along the way. I was groomed in high school when I was 15, 16 years old, and I married my predator, and I now have a lovely son and my first grandchild from that man who I never loved. Like, all of these things that make me realize that the universe doesn't care. They care, but it's okay. Whatever choices we make, mistakes we make, such wonderful things can happen anyway. And I've gotten to a point in my life where I feel like my superpower is my honesty, and knowing that we're here for a reason. And I'm not called to mediumship, but through being able to connect with loved ones who have passed, and just getting messages like from my mom, like, come on, do this. You can do this.
That's it.
It's just, I'm telling you, it gets me out of bed in the morning. I share the story of my parents passing probably 5 times a month. I'm a medical assistant, and it's amazing the things people will share with you behind a closed door. I mean, It's a very intimate setting. And I can tell you that it has changed people's lives already. Just that, and people cry and we hug. And then the doctor comes to get the patient. He's like, what the heck happened? I'm like,
it's that connection. Well, Susan, thank you so much for sharing this. I do want to say that you said on a whim you submitted your story, but I hope that all of you listening, thank you, Susan. I hope that all of you listening here today have come to know that these aren't just whims. These are inspirations from our loved ones across the veil. I know that Susan's parents were saying, you can do this, and overcoming that critic that's still talking to her and to all of us. You've heard many people here talking about the fact that we doubt ourselves and we don't think we should move forward with something. And I'm just so grateful to all of the women who joined me here today to share their stories. I can't bring them all back on the screen at once, but go back and rewind and be inspired again and again. Please enjoy this book, Mediumship. It's so inspirational. And I will tell you that when you read an author's story, their energy is imbued in their words, as are their spirit's love. So you'll feel the higher energy coming through these pages, and hopefully be inspired to start your own practice of connecting with your loved ones across the veil. Thank you all for listening. Thank you to our contributors and those who didn't get on to talk with me today. I appreciate you being in the book as well. It's a beautiful journey that we're all on together, this awakening to the fact that we are not only human. I love you all. We'll see you back here for the next episode of Messages of Hope. Bye-bye.